Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to break down how the absolute best of the best, we're talking pro traders, Navy SEALs, elite athletes, master the art of making decisions. They don't have a crystal ball. They thrive by mastering a world that's filled with uncertainty, and we're about to show you exactly how they do it. So let's start with this. You take a big swing on a risky investment, and boom, it pays off big time. Now, are you a genius for seeing what no one else could, or did you just get lucky? This question right here is at the very heart of everything we're talking about today because telling the difference is the real key to long-term success. This idea from the legendary investor Howard Marks is going to be our guiding star. Just think about it for a second. A really great, well-thought-out decision can still lead to a bad outcome because of bad luck. And a totally terrible decision can get bailed out by pure chance. If we only judge our choices by the result, we're setting ourselves up to learn all the wrong lessons. You know, our brains are hardwired for shortcuts. It's how we get through the day. But this can lead us right into something called the outcome trap, where we get tricked into thinking a good result must have come from a good decision. This trap is basically built on two sneaky cognitive biases that completely distort how we see the past. And we're going to break them down right now. Okay, let's dive in. Our first major bias is something every single one of us has experienced. And man, it is one of the biggest roadblocks to actually learning from anything we do. Right, the I knew it all along effect. As soon as we know how something turned out, our brain literally rewrites history to make that outcome feel like it was obvious from the start. We become totally blind to all the other ways things could have gone, all those alternative histories that were just as possible but didn't happen. And that makes it almost impossible to go back and fairly judge the decision you made with the information you had at the time. Okay, this second bias is all about feeding our ego. It's this deep-seated belief that we have way more influence over things than we actually do, especially when luck and randomness are in play. This is that feeling that you're in the driver's seat when really you're just a passenger. It's why a gambler in a casino might feel luckier if they roll the dice, even though we all know the odds are exactly the same. We fundamentally confuse being involved in something with actually having influence over it. Now, here's the really wild part. Look at these factors. These conditions are pretty much always present in any high-stakes environment. Trading floors, boardrooms, operating rooms, you name it. The very moments when we need our judgment to be at its sharpest are the exact same moments it's most likely to be biased. And this brings us to a huge, crucial question. If we can't always trust the results to teach us the right lessons, what on earth should we be focusing on? This is the fundamental shift in thinking that separates the pros from the amateurs in fields like enterprise risk management, sports, and trading. All right, we've talked enough about the problem. Let's get to the solution. And it starts with a really powerful mental model, one that's been championed by Annie Duke, a former pro poker player who's now a world-class decision strategist. See, the world isn't black and white. It's just a whole spectrum of probabilities. And the best performers, they don't try to predict the future. They're not fortune tellers. Instead, they just try to get the odds right. They accept that luck is always going to be part of the equation. So their goal isn't to be right 100% of the time. It's to make the best possible bet with the information they have in front of them. Man, I love this quote. It is just a masterclass in thinking with probabilities. The analyst isn't guaranteeing anything. He's just stating the odds, while at the same time acknowledging that the unlikely thing can and absolutely does happen. An 80% chance of success is also a 20% chance of failure, and professionals never, ever forget about that 20%. And this way of thinking leads us to what is maybe the single most important mindset shift you can make to achieve excellence. This is a principle that performance psychologist Eric Potterat found after working with over 25,000 elite performers. This is the big one. I mean, just look at this comparison. It's night and day, right? Amateurs are on this wild emotional roller coaster that's tied to every result, but professionals, they are completely obsessed with their process. They focus on perfecting the recipe, because they know a consistent, high-quality process is the only reliable way to get good outcomes over the long run. So here it is, the bottom line. You have very little control over the final result, but you have total control over your process. Your preparation, your execution, your learning, that's your domain. Elite traders don't end the day asking, did I win? They ask, did I follow my process? That one little shift in focus is an absolute game changer. Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do we actually put it into practice? Let's look at a couple of real, actionable tools that elite performers like Navy SEALs and Olympic athletes use to build their own systems for excellence. So, after any big event, a project at work, a negotiation, whatever, professionals use a framework like this. It's called an after-action review. It forces you to take an objective look at the process, totally separate from the outcome. The goal isn't to point fingers or assign blame. It's to systematically figure out how to improve the system for next time. It's about turning every single experience, win or lose, into fuel for getting better. Being excellent isn't about avoiding failure. It's about building the mental muscle to handle adversity when it shows up. Top performers don't just hope for the best, they actually visualize things going wrong and plan out how they'll respond. They also learn how to black box a mistake. Think of it like an airplane's black box recorder. You analyze it for data, learn a lesson, and then you seal it away so the emotion doesn't derail your next performance. It's a super disciplined way to learn from failure without letting it consume you. So, the conclusion from decades of research is crystal clear. The mental skills of the world's best performers are not gifts they were born with. They are skills that are teachable, learnable, and available to anyone who's willing to do the work. Excellence is not a trait you have, as the slide says. It's a system you build, one good decision at a time. As we wrap up here, I want this piece of wisdom to really sink in. In a complex world, the most dangerous thing isn't being wrong. It's being absolutely certain about something that isn't true. That intellectual humility, that willingness to say, I don't know, and embrace uncertainty, that is a modern superpower. So ultimately, it all comes down to a choice. You can play the visible game, chasing outcomes, getting fooled by randomness, and linking your self-worth to every single win and loss. Or you can play the unseen game, the one where you master your process, build your system, and achieve a kind of excellence that actually lasts. The choice is yours. What game are you going to play?